Hi everyone, Nat Richards here from Text on the Move. Just a short video here about IELTS, the International English Language Testing System. A lot of you, I'm sure, have heard of this as being a requirement to get down here to Australia, and we get a lot of questions about it, so I thought I'd let you know exactly what IELTS is all about with a couple of key points. They are, of course, a business that have many different testing centres all around the world, and they're generally pretty easy to get into if you book online ahead of time. They are required for people from non-English speaking countries to gain visas like the 482 or any others, or for all applicants to gain offshore visas, so for permanent residency visas that you'd be applying for without being in Australia, regardless of where you're from, will require you to undertake English language testing like IELTS provide. So these can be a great way for people who are applying for permanent residency visas to get more points, so that you can be invited to apply for a 189 or a 190 visa or something to that extent. So basically, if you've got a good command of the English language and you improve it through IELTS, you'll gain a few more points for your trouble. There's 4 categories to the IELTS system, and writing is always the hardest one. So across the board for pretty much every technician we've ever taken through this process, ultimately it's the writing that tends to cause them more troubles than anything else. So really the key tip here, I think, is study. Brush up on some of this stuff. A lot of the bits and pieces you'll be assessed on are not normally the sort of things that would worry you in your day-to-day life, a little bit like studying algebra at high school. So if you can take a few moments even online through IELTS' own website or through other resources that you'll find out there, I'm sure a few minutes of study will be spent sort of well worth it. It's easy to brush back up. So the minimum requirements here with an IELTS test are always interesting. So for a 482 visa, temporary sponsored visa, for those that require it, so not Brits or anyone from a majority English-speaking country that is recognised by the Australian government as being such, the minimum requirement for a 482 is 5 out of 10 in each of those categories. So IELTS will give you an overall score. That's not what matters. It's the individual categories that matter, and 5 out of 10 is the minimum score for a 482 for those that need it. Permanent residency visas offshore, so that would be for your 189s and your 190s, regardless of where you're from, will require a 6 out of 10 in each of those categories. So again, overall score doesn't matter, and this would apply to Brits if you're looking to gain permanent residency offshore. For a 186 permanent residency visa, so that would be the one that would follow on from the temporary visa that you might start out with here. Again, Brits or other majority English-speaking countries that are recognised by the Australian government as being that way will not have to take an IELTS test for this. Those outside of that group of countries will, unfortunately. So if you've had to do an IELTS test to get into the country in the first place, you're probably going to have to do one again for permanent residency. And the minimum score there is 6 out of 10 in each of those categories, again with a disregard to the overall score. Hope that helps. If you've got any questions, by all means hit us up.